February 18th, past midnight. The blizzard hit Highway 71 like something hungry had been waiting. I've been driving for 27 years, but this storm felt wrong, too sudden, too complete, like the world wanted me stopped at that exact spot. The CB crackled with a voice I didn't recognize. "Lakeview Motor Lodge, mile marker 325. Only place open for 50 miles. I hadn't asked. Hadn't said anything on the channel, but my fuel gauge read empty, though I'd filled up 2 hours ago. The needle dropped as I watched. Quarter tank, then eighth, like the truck was bleeding out. I took the exit. The Lakeview sign flickered, half the letters dead, but they spelled something different in the darkness. Leave now. Then the bulbs shifted back. Lakeview. I told myself it was the snow, the exhaustion. The parking lot held 4 vehicles, but when I looked closer, they were all the same make and model as mine. Same year, same color, even the same dent on the driver's side door from that jackknife in Toledo. The office smelled like diesel fuel and something else, something rotting. The clerk behind the desk was young, maybe 22, but his eyes were old, ancient. "Room for the night," I said. He smiled with too many teeth. "Ground floor is full. You'll want 228. Second floor, end of the hall." I didn't argue. Should have. Climbed the exterior stairs, and with each step, the temperature dropped. Not cold from the blizzard. Different. Cemetery cold. Room 228 was waiting. The key turned before I touched it. Inside, everything was normal. Too normal. Like a photograph of a motel room, not the real thing. I texted Sarah. "Stuck at motel. Home tomorrow. Love you." The message failed. No signal. But my phone showed 5 bars. I tried again. The text changed as I typed. "Don't look for me. I'm staying here. Forever." I deleted it, hands shaking. Tried once more. "Help me. Lakeview Motor Lodge, mile 325. Send failed. That's when I heard it through the wall. My engine, not just any diesel, my engine. The exact rhythm of my Peterbilt's Cummins ISX-15. That slight miss on the 3rd cylinder I'd been meaning to fix. But my truck was in the parking lot, engine cold. I checked the window. There it sat, alone in the corner. Except now there were 5 trucks, all identical to mine. I pressed my ear to the wall of room 227. The engine idled, and then I heard my own voice. "This is Road Dog. What's sketchy about it?" It was the CB transmission I'd made an hour ago. Then another voice, mine again. "Stuck at motel. Home tomorrow. Love you." The text I tried to send Sarah. They were playing my life back to me. Something scratched at my door. Not knocking. Scratching. Like fingernails on wood, but slower. Deliberate. I looked through the peephole. The clerk stood there, but his skin was translucent now, and I could see the bones underneath, and those bones were burned black. He smiled at the peephole. "We've been waiting for you, Road Dog. 27 years is a long time." I grabbed my phone, ran for the bathroom window. It was painted shut. The scratching continued. I heard other sounds now, footsteps in the hallway, but too many feet, dozens of boots on thin carpet. The CB radio in my jacket crackled. "Road Dog, this is Silver Fox. Don't go to Lakeview. I stopped there in 2009. Never left. None of us did." I tried the window again, broke the glass with my boot, climbed through, dropped into the snow, ran for my truck. The key wouldn't turn. The ignition was frozen solid, but not from cold. The metal had fused together. I looked up at room 228. Every window in the motel was dark except mine. And in my window stood a figure, wearing my jacket, my face, waving at me. The maintenance door swung open by itself. Warm air rushed out, carrying that diesel smell. And voices, hundreds of them, all on CB radios. "This is Road Dog, stuck at the Lakeview. This is Hammer, 20 miles north. Memphis Red, en route." Every trucker who'd ever stopped here, calling for help that never came, over and over, forever. I ran for the highway, but the road wasn't there anymore, just endless snow and darkness. I turned back. The Lakeview was closer now, though I'd been running away from it. The neon sign blazed full brightness. "Welcome home, Road Dog." Below it, in smaller letters that appeared like frost. 27 years ago, you passed this place. You should have stopped. We've been waiting." My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "Dad, you've been gone since 1998. Where are you?" I looked at the date on my phone, February 18th, 2025. But that was impossible. I'd been driving yesterday, hadn't I? I checked my logbook. The last entry was February 17th, 1998. 27 years of blank pages. The maintenance door opened wider. Inside, I saw them. Hundreds of truckers standing in the darkness, their rigs parked in impossible rows that stretched into forever. They all looked at me with hollow eyes. One stepped forward. He wore my face, but older, burned. "You died on this highway in 98, jackknifed on black ice at mile marker 325. We all did. Different years, different ways. But the Lakeview catches us, keeps us. We drive the same route every night, and every night we stop here." "No," I said. "I texted Sarah. I talked to her last week." He shook his head. "Sarah was 8 when you died. She's 35 now, married, 2 kids. She scattered your ashes at Lake of the Woods." He showed me his phone, my phone. Photos of Sarah's wedding, her children, a gravestone, loving father, lost to the road. The other truckers moved closer. I recognized faces from rest stops, from truck stops, from the CB radio, Silver Fox, Hammer, Memphis Red, all dead, all trapped. "Why?" I asked. The burned version of me smiled. "The road's hungry, always has been. It takes truckers because we're already ghosts, already alone. No one misses us until it's too late. And the Lakeview is where the road keeps us." My Peterbilt's engine started by itself. The familiar idle, that third cylinder miss. "You'll drive tonight," my burned self said. "Same route, same storm, and tomorrow night, and the night after. Some nights you'll remember, most nights you won't. But you'll always end up here, mile marker 325, where you died, where you'll die forever." I climbed into my cab. The logbook opened to February 17th, 1998. I started writing, "Clear roads, making good time, should reach Sarah by tomorrow." The date changed as I wrote, February 17th, 2025. Then 2026, 2027. The years blurred together. I keyed the CB. "This is Road Dog. Anyone on 71, stay away from Lakeview Motor Lodge. It's not static." My voice cut off, replaced by the next trucker, somewhere in time, making the same call, the same warning that no one ever hears in time. I drive now, every night, the same highway, the same blizzard that killed me 27 years ago. My phone shows messages from Sarah, but they're always from 1998. "Dad, when are you coming home?" I reply, but she never gets them, because she buried me decades ago. Sometimes, late at night, I see other trucks, other drivers. They wave. They don't know yet. Don't know they're already gone, that the Lakeview is waiting, that mile marker 325 is hungry, and their engines idle just like mine, forever, in the parking lot of a motel that shouldn't exist. If you're driving Highway 71 and you see the Lakeview Motor Lodge, keep going, even if your fuel gauge reads empty, even if the blizzard's too thick to see. Because if you stop, you'll hear it. That diesel idle. Your own engine's voice playing back to you from the walls, and you'll realize you've been dead all along. The road just forgot to tell you. The CB crackles one more time. My voice. But not from now. From 1998. Young, alive, afraid. "This is Road Dog. If anyone hears this, tell Sarah I love her. Tell her I tried to come home." But no one ever hears, because we're all already here, at mile marker 325, at the Lakeview, where the road keeps its ghosts, where we idle, forever. And somewhere out there, tonight, another trucker is running low on fuel. Another blizzard is starting. Another CB radio is crackling with warnings they won't hear in time. The Lakeview is patient, the road is hungry, and there's always room at the inn. My name is Jim Carter, and I'm a 47-year-old sales manager who spent more nights in roadside motels than in my own bed. After 17 years of marriage and a messy divorce, these business trips became my routine. Phoenix to Vegas, Vegas to Barstow, always the same highway, same chain hotels. I thought I knew every exit on Route 40. I was wrong. It was October 2024, around 9 p.m., when my GPS started glitching. The screen froze, then showed me on a road that didn't exist. No signal, no navigation, just static. I'd been driving through the Mojave for 3 hours, and the last town I'd seen was 40 miles back. My phone was useless out here. Then I saw it, a pink neon sign flickering against the black desert sky. Desert Rose Inn, vacancy. The motel looked like something from the 1950s that time had forgotten. Faded turquoise paint, a dried-up pool filled with tumbleweeds, and only 8 rooms on 2 levels. Half the building was dark, windows boarded up. I pulled into the gravel lot. That's when I noticed the black Lincoln Continental, a 1970s model, parked at the far end. Pristine condition, like it had just rolled off the assembly line. My phone buzzed. 1 bar of signal. A text from Soren Graves, my old colleague. "Jim, where are you? My GPS died, and I ended up at some place called Desert Rose Inn." I stared at the message. Soren was supposed to be on a different route, heading to Tucson. I typed back, "I'm here too. What room?" The front office smelled like mothballs and cigarette smoke from decades past. Behind the desk sat an elderly woman, late 60s, knitting something with trembling hands. Her name tag read, "Margaret." "Room for 1?" she asked without looking up. "Yes, and apparently my friend is here too." "Room 5. I'll put you in room 3. She slid a physical key across the counter, not a key card. "Checkout is 11. "What about room 4? I'd prefer to be next to my colleague." Her hand stopped mid-stitch. "Room 4 is under maintenance. Room 3 is ready." I glanced at the keyboard behind her. Keys for rooms 2, 4, 6, and 8 hung untouched. "Are those rooms occupied?" "Maintenance," she repeated, her voice flat. "All even numbers are unavailable." Soren was waiting outside his room, looking as confused as I felt. "This is bizarre," he said. "My GPS showed me taking exits that don't exist. And check this out." He showed me his phone. His GPS history for the last hour was a perfect circle, like he'd been driving in loops. "Mine too," I admitted. "Margaret said all the even-numbered rooms are closed." Soren pulled out his camera. He's always been into photography, documenting weird roadside Americana. "There's something off about this place. Look at room 2, he pointed to the ground floor. A dim light glowed behind the curtains, but it flickered strangely, like multiple shadows moving behind it. We grabbed beers from my cooler and sat on the metal chairs outside my room. The desert was absolutely silent. No crickets, no wind, nothing. Just that pink neon sign buzzing overhead. "My mom used to tell me about places like this," Soren said, opening his beer. "Liminal spaces, places that exist between destinations, where normal rules don't apply." "You and your superstitions," I said, but I couldn't shake the unease crawling up my spine. At 2:47 a.m., I woke to knocking, not on my door, inside the wall. 3 deliberate knocks, pause, 3 more knocks. I sat up, heart hammering. The knocking came again, this time accompanied by a scratching sound, like fingernails on drywall. I heard Soren shout from his room, "Who the hell is in my bathroom?" I rushed outside. Soren was there in his boxers and t-shirt, pale and shaking. "Someone was in my bathroom, Jim. I saw a shadow under the door, but when I opened it, nothing. Just a smell like formaldehyde." That's when we both noticed him. A man in a gray suit standing beside the Lincoln Continental, staring up at the second floor. Specifically at room 7, which I now realized had police tape across the door, weathered and peeling. The man turned to look at us. Even from 30 feet away, I could see his smile. He raised one hand and pointed at room 7, then at us, then at room 7 again. He didn't move after that, just stood there, pointing. "We should leave," Soren whispered. "Right now." We started toward our cars when a young woman emerged from the office, vaping. Her name tag read Crystal. She couldn't have been older than 30, with tired eyes and blonde hair pulled into a messy ponytail. "You boys shouldn't be outside after 2:47, she said, exhaling vapor. "That's when they come." "Who?" I asked. She looked at the man by the Lincoln. He hadn't moved. "The guests from the even rooms. They're looking for replacements." She pulled out a key from her pocket. "If you hear scratching from room 4, use this. Don't ask why, just get inside." Before I could respond, she walked back to the office. Soren was already taking photos with his camera, long exposure shots. When he checked the screen, his hands started shaking. "Jim, look at this." The photo showed room 2 with 4 distinct silhouettes behind the curtains, standing motionless. But the light inside was barely enough for one person. The scratching started again, louder now. Coming from room 4, the maintenance room between mine and Soren's. I pulled out Crystal's key. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get it in the lock. The door opened. Room 4 was completely empty. No furniture, no fixtures, nothing. Except on the wall between rooms 3 and 4, there was a small hole, roughly at eye level. A peephole. Someone had been watching me from this locked, empty room. "Jesus Christ," Soren muttered. A voice behind us. "Step away from that room." Margaret stood there with a shotgun, not pointed at us, but ready. "Come to the office, now." In the cramped office, Margaret sat down heavily, the shotgun across her lap. "I tried to keep you in the odd rooms. They're safe. The even rooms are where they stay. The others." "What others?" I demanded. My husband died in room 7 in 1987. They made him do it, made him cut his wrists while they watched." Her voice cracked. "Every 13 days, they need someone new. Tonight is the 13th day." Soren stood up. "We're leaving." "You can try," Margaret said, "but you'll come back. The GPS will fail. The road will loop. You'll always end up here. That's how they got my husband. That's how they got the others." We ran to our cars. I drove fast, Soren following in his Honda. 20 minutes later, I saw the sign. Desert Rose Inn, 1 mile ahead. Impossible. I'd been driving away from it. I made a U-turn, same sign ahead of me. My car radio turned on by itself, all static, then a woman's voice. "Room 6 is ready for you, James." I looked at my dashboard clock, 2:47 a.m., but it had been past 5 o'clock when we left. Soren's headlights disappeared behind me. I was alone on the road, and ahead, that pink neon sign. Vacancy. I'm writing this from room 3. It's 2:35 a.m. In 12 minutes, the knocking will start again. The man in the gray suit is back, standing by his Lincoln. But tonight, he's not alone. There are others now, standing in front of the even-numbered rooms. I've tried leaving 4 times. I always come back. Soren hasn't returned yet. His room 5 is dark. Margaret won't answer my questions anymore. The scratching from room 4 has started early tonight. I still have Crystal's key, but I'm not sure I want to know what's really behind that door, or what's been watching me through that hole in the wall. My GPS shows I'm nowhere, just a blank screen. If you're driving through the Mojave and your GPS starts glitching near Needles, California, keep driving. Don't stop at the Desert Rose Inn. Don't take an odd-numbered room. And whatever you do, don't be outside at 2:47 a.m. But you probably won't have a choice. The road decides, and the road always brings you back. It's 2:46 now. 1 more minute. I can hear them knocking. I've been driving for 11 hours straight when I spotted the Magnolia Court Motor Inn just off Highway 90, about 90 miles west of New Orleans. The sun was setting behind the cypress trees, casting long shadows across the cracked parking lot. I'm a cardiac surgeon, or I was, until 6 months ago when I lost a patient on the table, 22 years old. Since then, I couldn't pick up a scalpel without my hands shaking. So I took a leave, threw some clothes in my car, and started driving with no particular destination in mind. The motel looked like it hadn't been updated since 1968. White colonial columns, peeling paint, and a massive magnolia tree in the courtyard that must have been 100 years old. The air was thick with humidity and the smell of wet earth from the swamp behind the property. Only 3 other cars in the lot. The neon vacancy sign flickered weakly in the dimming light. The owner, Beau Comeau, checked me in. Tall, lean man in his 60s, with weathered skin and pale blue eyes that seemed to look right through you. Spoke with that slow Louisiana drawl. "Room 14, Dr. Brennan. Cash only, if you don't mind. Card machine's been acting up." I didn't remember telling him I was a doctor. Must have seen it on my license. The room smelled of mildew and bleach. The AC rattled, but barely cooled the air. I noticed dark stains on the wooden floor near the bed, mold, probably, from the humidity. I was too exhausted to care. I took a cold shower and fell asleep around 10. At 3 in the morning, I woke to voices outside. Through the thin curtains, I saw flashlight beams moving behind the motel, near the tree line where the swamp began. I pulled back the curtain. 4 or 5 men were digging with shovels, their movements slow and mechanical. They were gaunt, dressed in dirty clothes. Bo stood over them with a flashlight, speaking quietly. "Deeper. The water table's high here." I watched for maybe 10 minutes. The scene felt wrong, like watching something I wasn't supposed to see. Eventually, they stopped digging and disappeared into the darkness. I tried to convince myself it was just maintenance work, but who does that at 3 a.m.? I barely slept the rest of the night. The next morning, I walked out back. The ground where they'd been digging was perfectly smooth, grass undisturbed, like nothing had happened. I was starting to think I dreamed it when a woman knocked on my door. She introduced herself as Amani Washington, a graduate student from Tulane studying Southern folklore. She was staying in room 15. "Did you hear anything strange last night?" she asked. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent. When I told her what I'd seen, she didn't seem surprised. "I'm researching disappearances in this area," she said. 17 people in 6 years, mostly homeless, drug addicts, people no one looks for. They all vanished within 10 miles of this motel." She showed me her research on her laptop. Names, dates, last known locations. "Local police won't investigate," she said. "I think there's something happening here." I wanted to dismiss it as conspiracy thinking, but that night I'd seen something. We agreed to keep our eyes open. That afternoon, I took a walk around the property. Behind the main building were storage units with heavy padlocks. As I passed one, I heard a weak groan from inside. I pressed my ear to the door. Someone was definitely in there. I pulled out my phone to call 911, but before I could dial, a sheriff's deputy pulled up in his cruiser. Deputy Guidry, thick-necked guy in his late 30s, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Something I can help you with, doctor?" Again with the doctor. Bo must have told him. I mentioned hearing sounds from the storage unit. He laughed it off. "That's just old equipment. Swamp animals get in sometimes. You're hearing things." But the way he looked at me, it was a warning. That night, Amani came to my room with something she'd found in the dumpster. 9 wallets, all belonging to different men. 4 of the names matched her list of missing persons. "We need to get into that storage unit," she whispered. We waited until after midnight. The motel was silent except for the cicadas screaming in the trees. We used a crowbar from my car to break the lock. Inside was a makeshift medical room, an old operating table, dirty surgical instruments, bottles of unmarked drugs. My blood ran cold when I recognized some of the instruments. They were the same brand I used, with serial numbers that matched equipment stolen from my hospital 2 years ago. Hanging on the wall were handwritten records, names, dates, procedures. Shock therapy, ice bath correction, surgical discipline. "Jesus Christ," Amani breathed. "He's been torturing them." I was still staring at my stolen instruments when we heard footsteps. Guidry emerged from the shadows, gun drawn. "Doc, you just couldn't leave it alone." Behind him, Bo appeared, holding a shotgun. "I'm helping these people," Bo said calmly. "Society gave up on them. I give them structure, discipline, purpose, like the Corps did for me." "You're murdering them," I said. Bo shook his head. "Only the ones who can't be saved. The rest work. They earn their redemption." Guidry moved closer. "Time to join the program, Doc. We can always use someone with medical skills." 0830. Amani sprayed pepper spray directly into Guidry's face. He fired wildly, the bullet sparking off metal. We ran. Behind the storage units were more. I could hear banging from inside, men calling for help. We broke open 2 doors. 6 men stumbled out, skeletal and terrified. One grabbed my arm. "I'm Andre. Been here 8 months, please." We heard Bo shouting orders. Flashlights swept through the darkness. We ran toward the swamp, crashing through palmetto bushes. Andre knew a path through the marsh. Behind us, gunshots cracked through the humid air. We waded through knee-deep water that smelled of rot and gasoline. Something large moved in the water near us. Alligator, maybe. Andre kept moving. It took us 40 minutes to reach the highway. A semi-truck driver saw us covered in mud and blood and called the state police. When they arrived, I told them everything. They found Bo trying to burn the storage unit. Inside it, they recovered records of 12 deaths over 6 years. Bodies buried in the swamp. The FBI took over within hours. Bo Como got 12 life sentences. Turned out he'd been running his rehabilitation program since 2018, convinced he was saving people through forced labor and torture, just like his drill sergeant had saved him in Vietnam. Deputy Guidry hanged himself in his cell before trial. 6 men survived. 9 bodies were recovered from the swamp. I went back to surgery 3 months later. But I work at a free clinic now, treating the homeless and addicted, the people society forgets, the people Bo preyed on. Sometimes I still wake at 3 a.m., hearing the sound of shovels in wet earth. Amani and I talk every few weeks. She finished her dissertation. Neither of us can drive through Louisiana without remembering. If you're ever on Highway 90, don't stop at small motels alone. And if you see men digging at 3 in the morning, call someone. Anyone. Just don't ignore it like I almost did.